I'm called James the Obscure. It's a name that means seldom clear to his lady wife. And I'm the teller, and this is Jesse Adriel Darkmountain, which is a very interesting name. And I'll bet you can't guess what she's going to do here.
Play music.
She's gonna... How'd you know that?
Because she has...
Oh, because she's the one holding the harp. All right, well, then I'm with an astute group here. Well, I have two stories for you today. And the first is just about this time, only long ago and far away. Now, if I went to the modern country of Norway, I'd have to travel some distance and go across the big water. But all this happens at a time when our modern country, Norway, was owned by the king, ruled over by the king over Denmark. And so there was no Norway. It doesn't come till later than this story. But this is a time when there were many farmers, but their farms were far distant. And if you were a traveler in that land at that time, you would go from farm to farm, because sometimes it was miles between, and you would expect to have hospitality given you, which meant they'd have to put you up if you're a traveler, because hospitality to a traveler is the oldest law between the common people. Well, if I go way north, as far north as I can go, just about, in the place where Norway now is, I would get to a town called Finnmark. And the man in Finnmark, he caught a white bear. We would know it as what? Anyone know what a white bear is?
A polar bear.
A polar bear. And you know what polar bears eat? Who knows? Anyone?
Seals.
They eat seals. Excellent, thank you. Yeah, they eat seals, they eat meat. Now, this man who caught the white bear, it must have been a cub. I'm pretty sure he didn't come up and expecting to pet a big polar bear. But in this time, a white bear was considered a gift that was worthy to give to a king. It was that important. And so the man who caught the white bear, he determined that he would go south with this white bear and walk him clear down to Denmark, where the king reigned. And he would present this white bear to the king. What he had in mind is, it's a small cub now, but it's going to grow big. And it's going to grow fierce, and we better have it trained by the time it gets big, and by the time I give it to the king. Otherwise, I might present him to the king, and he would eat up the king, and that would not be so good. But if I bring the white bear to the king and present him, why, the king will reward me. And that was true. So off they went. From Finnmark, they went south, and they went south, and they went south, and they walked, and they walked, and they walked, and just as he had expected, that little cubby grew up to be a pretty good-sized white bear. But he was a very nice bear, and you could pet him. Could. So because the man was good to him and trained him well. So he walked and he walked and he walked, and it got to be Christmas Eve. And in that place, and amongst those people, Christmas Eve was celebrated at the farmhouses that are miles between. And the wife would cook good food and set the table for any of the visitors, any of the neighbors who would come by. So here comes the man with the white bear. And he knocked on a farmhouse door, and he met the Halder who lived there. And Halder was coming out. And the man said, "We would like to stay in your place and have hospitality." But Halder said, "No, you can't stay here," which was pretty surprising, because hospitality to a traveler is the oldest law amongst the people, and everybody knew it. You can't stay here because every year on this night, trolls come. You know who trolls are? They are small creatures, and they're not humans. They're like little goblins, and they have tails. Well, they do. Trolls have tails, some of them. How do you know so much about trolls? Well, because you've heard of them. Well, you can't stay here, says Halder, the farmer, because every night late, after my wife sets out all the good things she has made for the neighbors to eat, the trolls come in. And they are noisy, and they are fighty, and they argue, and they shout. And I tell you, the din is awful. We can't even hear ourselves think, and they make such a mess. They throw food. No, I tell you, it is a huge mess. So my wife and I, said Halder, we have to go to the neighbors. We can't even stay in our own house because it's such a terrible racket. No, we can't allow you to stay. Excuse me. Well, says the man with the white bear, I believe my bear and I will be all right. We'll find a place he can sleep in the place behind the stove, and I will find a closet to curl up in, and we will survive. So off went Halder, the farmer, and his wife, off to the neighbors for the night. And when the man with the white bear and his bear came in, why, all on that table there were good things to eat and good drink. They had done it right. And so the man with the white bear, he enjoyed a very nice dinner. And the bear, he ate also. Now, they settled down, and the bear was able to find a place behind the stove where he could stay warm and curl up, and the man, he found a closet. Well, sure enough, in the late night, there came the trolls in their whooping and hollering and fighting and arguing and pulling ears and I don't know what all. And they were such a mess, and pretty soon, there was food all over the place because they were not tidy eaters. And one of the small trolls, he had found a toasting fork. And of course, the houses then were heated by the fireplaces. And he put a sausage on the toasting fork, and he was toasting the sausage, and he found that good, and he put another one on and toasted it until it was done very nicely. And then he's walking around with the sausage on this toasting fork. And he's looking here and he's looking there, and he looks under the stove, and he sees something. Pussycat, he said to the white bear. Pussycat, puss want a sausage? Puss want a sausage? And he's waving this toasting fork around, and what do you suppose? He catches the white bear right on the end of his black nose. Oh, then he saw how big and how fast the white bear could grow. And the white bear stood up and growled and roared, and all the trolls saw that, and oh my, they tried to get out of that house and out of the house, and they all tried to go through the door at once, and they got stuck, and up came the white bear, who was so helpful. Why, he reached his paw back and he encouraged the whole bunch to get through that door. And they all went pop right out into the outdoor and ran away. Well, the man with the bear, he looked around and it was a mess everywhere. So he decided that the hospitality was very good, and he enjoyed the good wife's cooking. And so he began to clean up the table. And you know, that bear was so helpful. The bear came along and he cleaned up the floor. And it was surprising how much that bear could actually clean up and how fast. And before they knew it, everything was ship-shape and back in good order, and there was no mess at all. And they went to sleep. Well, in the late morning, Halder and his good wife came back to their building. And they came back to their farm, and when they opened the door, wasn't she pleased? Why, the wife saw that everything was cleaned up, and when they looked around and when they were cleaning up, they found a tail that had come off of one of the trolls. And so the man with the white bear, he gave it to Halder and his wife as a memento, and off they went with many thanks, for the food was very good. Well, they went off, and he presented the white bear to the king over Denmark, and the king was very pleased and rewarded him greatly with much treasure, and he came back a rich man. Well, the next year, Halder and his good wife were still there, and they were looking at the trolls coming in again, and no white bear to discourage the trolls this time. And so Halder was out getting ready about 2 weeks before the Christmas day. He was cutting wood out in the woods, and he heard a sound. Halder, Halder. When he looked up on the hill, there was a troll there. Halder, is that white cat still living with you? Why, yes, says Halder. And now she has 7 kittens, and each is bigger and fiercer than she is. Oh. Halder, last year did you find a tail? Why, yes, says Halder. I found a tail, and I cut it up, and I fed it to the cat and her kittens, and they said, They liked it very much. And could they have some more, or know where they could get some? Oh. Halder, says the troll, I don't think we're coming to your house for Christmas this year. And they didn't. Nor did they ever come again. And Halder and his wife didn't miss them at all. They liked it very much. And that's the end of that tale. So Christmas happens. Thank you.